My faithful one, I want you to stop for a moment and hear something that I have been carrying in my heart for you. Not because the timing is convenient, not because you have said all the right things or done everything perfectly, but because I have been watching you carry a weight that was never meant to be yours alone. The weight of not knowing where the next thing will come from. The weight of looking at what you have and measuring it against what you need and feeling that familiar hollow dread when the numbers do not match. The weight of worrying about provision, about resources, about whether there will be enough. And I have seen how that weight bends you down, how it follows you through your days, how it slides into your thoughts at quiet moments when you are trying simply to rest. I see all of that, every bit of it. Nothing about your struggle is hidden from me. Nothing about the fear you carry is invisible to the one who knows you completely and loves you without condition. Today, let me speak directly to the fear underneath those thoughts. The question you have been carrying in your chest, the one you sometimes feel ashamed to admit out loud, the one that says, "What if there is not enough? What if things do not work out? What if I am left without?" That question is the real conversation I want to have with you, because the answer I carry changes everything, and the answer I carry is not a vague religious comfort designed to get you through the next hour. The answer I carry is rooted in who I am, and who I am has not changed and will not change, and it is good news for every empty place in your life. I am your provider. That is not a title I wear occasionally. It is not a role I step into when conditions are favorable and step out of when things become complicated. It is who I am. It is woven into my nature in a way that cannot be separated from me any more than light can be separated from the sun, any more than warmth can be separated from fire, any more than the tide can be separated from the pull that governs it. When I revealed myself to Abraham as the God who provides, I was not making a narrow promise for one specific moment in one specific man's life. I was revealing something essential and permanent about my character, something that was true before you were born and will remain true long after everything you can currently see and touch has passed away. I am the one who provides. That is the foundation beneath your feet, even when you cannot feel it, even when the ground seems to shake, even when the resources seem to dry up and the path ahead seems entirely unclear. I am still the one who provides. And I am not a provider in general terms, distant and abstract, sending provision toward humanity in bulk with no individual attention. I am your provider, personally, specifically, with complete and intimate knowledge of what you actually need, when you need it, in what form it must come for it to truly help you, in what season it must arrive for it to do the most good. There is something I need you to understand about how I provide, because I think you may have formed a picture of provision that is too small, too narrow, too tied to the visible and the immediate and the financial. When you think of provision, you think of money coming in, you think of the bill getting paid, you think of the job opening, the opportunity arriving, the unexpected source of income that covers what you could not cover yourself. And yes, I absolutely work in all of those ways. Those things are real parts of how I provide, and I am not dismissing them because I know they are urgently real to you. Your practical needs are real and they matter to me, and I am not spiritualizing them away. But my provision is so much larger than any of that, and if you only have eyes for the financial dimension, you will miss the fullness of what I am already doing on your behalf. My provision includes the strength that rises in you when you have no idea where it came from, the kind of strength that carries you through a day you thought you could not survive and brings you to the other side still standing. the clarity that finds you in the middle of confusion when you genuinely could not see the way forward, and then suddenly you could, as if a fog lifted. The connection that appears at precisely the moment you needed someone who understood what you were walking through, someone whose presence made the load lighter without them even knowing they did anything. The idea that surfaces while you are barely conscious of thinking, the one that changes the trajectory of a situation you thought was stuck. The way a circumstance that looked completely impossible suddenly shifts, and the path opens in a way that defies rational explanation, that makes you shake your head and know that something beyond human engineering was at work. The peace that holds you steady when every circumstance is screaming that you should be falling apart. All of that is my provision. All of that is me, your God, your shepherd, your Father, ensuring that what you truly need is never finally withheld from you. I told you through the 23rd Psalm something that I want to expand today, because the depth of that passage has not yet been fully received in the way it was meant to be. I told you through the pen of David that because I am your shepherd, you shall not lack. That sentence is so compact, so simple on its surface, that it is possible to read it and nod and move on without letting it fully land. So let us stay with it. Let me open it up and let you see what is inside. Because the shepherd relationship was not an abstract concept to the people who first heard those words. They knew what it meant from practical daily experience with real animals and real pasture and real danger and real commitment. A shepherd was not someone who watched the sheep from a comfortable distance and hoped things worked out. A shepherd was someone who took personal, hands-on, continuous responsibility for the complete well-being of the flock. A shepherd knew each animal individually, not as a number in a count, but as a distinct creature with its own tendencies and vulnerabilities and needs. A shepherd led the flock to places where there was water and grass, not just to the nearest convenient spot, but to the best available place, the place where the animals would genuinely thrive. A shepherd stayed with the flock through the night when predators were nearby, sleeping lightly, alert, ready to wake and intervene at the first sign of threat. A shepherd went into dangerous and difficult terrain to recover the one that had wandered and was lost, leaving the 99 in safety to go after the one who was in danger. A shepherd was the first one up and the last one to sleep. The entire existence of the shepherd was organized around the provision and protection and flourishing of the flock, and that is the relationship I declared with you. I am that to you. I am the one whose entire being is oriented toward your well-being, your provision, your safety, your flourishing. And because that is who I am in relation to you, because that is the covenant I have taken on willingly and permanently, you shall not lack. That is not a statement about your circumstances always looking like abundance to your natural eyes. It is not a promise that every season will feel full and every need will be met before you even notice you had it. It is a statement about my commitment to you, about the nature of the relationship we are in, about what I have taken on as my responsibility toward you. You will not ultimately be without what you genuinely need. I will make sure of it. I will make sure of it, not reluctantly, not as a last resort after all human options have failed, but as the natural expression of what I am and what I have always been toward those who are mine. Honesty with you matters to me, because my love for you is too complete to only tell you the comfortable parts. There is a difference between what you think you need and what I know you need, and sometimes those two things do not perfectly overlap, and when they diverge, the experience can be painful and confusing, and can feel like silence from me or indifference. I have been watching you long enough, walking beside you through enough seasons of your life to understand the difference between the desires that would actually bless you and the desires that would, if granted exactly as you imagine them, take something from you that you cannot see from where you are standing. This is not me being withholding. This is not me being stingy or indifferent to your pain. Let that be absolutely clear. My withholding of something you want is never because I do not care, never because I am punishing you, never because I have decided you are not worth it. When I do not give you what you asked for in the form you asked for it, it is because I am a father who sees what you cannot yet see, a shepherd who knows the terrain ahead in a way you do not, a provider who understands that real provision is not just giving you what you asked for in exactly the form you asked for it, but giving you what will truly serve your life, your growth, your freedom, your deepest and most lasting joy. Sometimes what I know you need looks different than what you had in mind, and in those moments, what is required from you is not more effort or more strategy, but a deeper trust, a trust that says, I do not have to see the whole plan in order to follow the planner, a trust that says, you know the terrain, you have seen farther than I have seen, you have a track record with me that I can build on. I am going to follow your lead even when I do not understand it, even when it looks wrong to me, even when the path you are taking seems to lead away from what I want rather than toward it. I know that trust is not easy to maintain when you are in the middle of a season that feels like lack. I know how hard it is to hold on to the idea that I am providing for you when the evidence in front of your eyes seems to say otherwise. When the account is low and the need is pressing and the gap between what you have and what you need feels wider than anything faith seems able to bridge, when you have been believing and waiting and trusting and it has been a long time and the answer is not visible yet, I understand that. I don't dismiss that experience or minimize the pain of it. I am not asking you to pretend you are not afraid, or that the situation is not real, or that the waiting is not hard. Those things are real, and the pain of them is valid, and you do not need to perform positivity in front of me. What I am asking is something more specific and more honest than pretending. I am asking you to choose, in the middle of the fear, to hold on to what you know about me, rather than letting what you feel about the circumstances become the final word on your situation. Those are two different things. What you feel about the circumstances is real. But what you know about me is also real, and it is deeper and more lasting, and it has a better track record than any feeling based on current circumstances. What you know is that I have provided before. What you know is that I have brought you through situations that looked impossible, situations whereby every human calculation you should have ended up without, and you did not end up without. What you know is that I have kept my word to you even when you were certain I would not. What you know is that I have not once in all the times you thought you were completely alone actually abandoned you. There was never a moment when I stepped away from you. There was never a crisis in your life that I turned away from in disinterest. Every hard thing you have walked through, I walked through with you, present in every fear, attentive in every uncertainty, active in every situation that needed my involvement, even when you could not detect my presence. Build your stability on what you know about me, and you will find that even in the middle of the fear, there is a place to stand. It will not be comfortable, it will not eliminate the difficulty, but it will hold. It will hold because it is built on what is actually true, and truth is more reliable than any circumstance, more durable than any season, more powerful than any force that works against you. Let me tell you what I see when I look at your situation right now. Because you need to know what I see, not just what you see. What you see is the lack. What you see is the gap. What you see is the need that has not yet been met, and the answer that has not yet arrived, and the change that has not yet come. I understand that is what dominates your view from where you are standing, but I want to tell you what I see, because I see further and more completely than you do. I see someone who has been trying very hard. Someone who has not given up even when giving up would have been the easier choice. Someone who has continued to show up, to do the work, to make the effort, even when the results were not coming the way you hoped, even when the effort seemed to be swallowed up without producing what it should have produced. I see the exhaustion in that. I see the quiet discouragement of someone who has been faithful and has not yet seen the reward of that faithfulness in the way they expected. I also see how you have held yourself together for the sake of the people around you, showing a steadiness on the outside that you did not fully feel on the inside, pushing the worry down so that it did not bleed into your relationships, into your conversations, into the faces of the people who depend on you, carrying more than people around you know you are carrying, bearing it quietly, sometimes heroically, sometimes at significant cost to your own peace and your own health. I see all of that, and I want you to hear this clearly. I am not disappointed in you. I am not standing at a distance waiting for you to figure out the right formula or produce the right spiritual performance before I step in. I am already in this with you. I am already working. What you cannot see yet does not mean it is not happening. What has not arrived yet does not mean it is not coming. What looks still and unchanged to your eyes is not still and unchanged in the dimensions where I work. I am moving in your situation right now, arranging things that your natural eyes cannot track, working in places and through means that have not yet become visible to you. The provision you are waiting for is not absent. It is in motion. Hold on. Think with me about the way I provided for those who came before you, because their stories are not in my word as distant history of no practical relevance. They are there as testimony, living testimony about my character and my ways, about how I operate when the people I love are in need, about what I am capable of doing in situations that look impossible. These stories are evidence, and I want you to weigh them seriously, because they are describing the same God who is present with you right now. Think about what I did when a widow in Zarephath was down to her very last handful of flour and her very last bit of oil. She was preparing what she believed would be the final meal she and her son would eat before they starved. She had reached the absolute bottom of what she could see. There was nothing left after this. No more resources, no more options. The end of the supply was in plain view, and it was very close. And that is the moment I sent someone to her door. That is the moment provision arrived, not before the crisis, not when there was still some margin of safety and comfort, not when she had a few weeks left and could breathe a little, but at the absolute edge, at the last moment, in the very place where all human strategy had genuinely and completely run out. And from that handful of flour and that tiny bit of oil, from that impossibly inadequate starting point, I made something that did not run out. That jar did not become empty. That container of oil did not dry up. Every day she reached in, there was more. Not a warehouse full of excess, not more than she could use or manage, not a lifetime supply delivered all at once, but exactly what was needed for each day, faithfully replenished, consistently present, never failing. That is one of the pictures of how I provide, not always in advance, not always with comfortable margins, not always in large, visible quantities that allow you to stop worrying about tomorrow. Sometimes one day at a time, sometimes exactly enough for today, with the promise that tomorrow I will still be the God who provides, and tomorrow I will still be reaching into your situation to make sure you have what you need. Think about what I did for the children of Israel in the wilderness. A whole people, a vast community of men and women and children out in the desert with no farmland, no infrastructure, no visible supply chain, no rational path to feeding themselves. By every human calculation, they should have starved within weeks. By every natural assessment, the situation was not just difficult, but categorically impossible. But every morning for 40 years, I put bread on the ground. Every single morning without exception. Not once did they wake up to find nothing. Not once did I forget that my people needed to eat. Every morning, provision. Every morning, exactly enough. It was one of the most sustained demonstrations of my character as provider that I ever gave. 40 years. Every day, not one day missed, not one morning when the provision did not arrive. Let that settle in. 40 years of daily faithfulness without a single gap. That is who I am. That is the record of the one who is your God. And that same commitment of character that showed up in the desert every morning for 40 years, that commitment is toward you now. It has not diminished. It has not become conditional on circumstances. It has not become more difficult for me. I am the same God. Think about what happened when there was not enough bread to feed the crowd that had followed my son into a remote place. 5 loaves and 2 fish. That was the total inventory, and the need was thousands of hungry people. The disciples looked at what they had and then looked at the size of the need, and the impossibility was so obvious that they stated it plainly and practically. This is not enough. The resources are inadequate to the need. There is no mathematical solution here. Send the people away. And my son took the inadequate thing, gave thanks for it, blessed it, broke it, and began distributing it. And it became enough. It became more than enough. It became so much more than enough that when everyone had eaten their fill, there were 12 baskets of leftovers. What was not enough became abundant. What was inadequate became more than sufficient. What the disciples had written off as a problem with no solution became the site of a revelation about who I am and what I do when my people are in need. That is what I can do with the not enough places in your life, not by pretending the insufficiency is not real, not by demanding that you perform a level of faith that bypasses the reality of what you are facing, but by taking what is actually there, however little it is, and doing with it what only I can do. I am not limited by the size of what you bring me. When you bring me your not enough, when you bring me your handful of flour, your 5 loaves, your empty place, I can make it into more than enough. That is not metaphor. That is my power working in your actual, physical, material, practical life. What I need from you right now is not more willpower or more strategy, though I am not opposed to effort or wisdom. What I need from you is something that is in some ways harder than effort and less comfortable than having a plan. I need your hands to be open. I need the posture of trust rather than the posture of hoarding, because provision cannot fully flow to you if your hands are closed around the little you already have, gripping it in fear, holding it so tightly that nothing can come in because nothing will go out. The closed fist is the posture of scarcity, the posture that says there isn't enough, and I must protect what I have because nothing more is coming and I am on my own. The open hand is the posture of trust, the posture that says, I believe my God is my source, and what my God provides cannot be exhausted by what my God asks me to release. I am asking you today to practice the open hand, not because giving away what you have is a magic formula that causes more to appear, though sometimes I do work in exactly that way, and the connection between generosity and provision is real and documented throughout my word, but primarily because the open hand is an act of trust, a physical declaration of what you believe about me and about the nature of provision in my kingdom. Acting in accordance with what you believe, doing the physical thing that expresses the spiritual posture, is one of the ways faith becomes real, becomes practiced, becomes deeper than a thought or a feeling, and enters the realm of embodied conviction. There is a consistent principle in my word about the connection between generosity and abundance. The one who gives freely tends to find that more comes back. The seed sown produces a harvest larger than the seed. The one who holds everything back in fear tends to end up with less than the one who risks giving. I am not asking you to be reckless or unwise. I am asking you to remain open, to resist the pull toward fearful hoarding, to live as though my provision is a flow that moves through you as much as to you. There is something underneath the worry about provision that deserves attention, something even deeper that the worry is often a symptom of. Because in many cases, when my children are anxious about whether there will be enough, the deeper issue is not really about money or resources or opportunities at all. The deeper issue is about identity and value and belonging. The deeper fear is not just, will I have what I need, but does the fact that I am struggling mean something is wrong with me? Does the difficulty mean I am less loved by God? Does the lack mean I am not included in the blessing that others seem to have? Is the shortage a sign that I am on the outside of something, that the good things are for other people and somehow not for me, that others are seen and I am overlooked? Those questions are the ones that really sting. Those are the questions that can turn a difficult practical situation into a spiritual crisis, a crisis of identity and belonging, and they can do it quietly, over time, in ways you might not even recognize as what is happening. To those questions, I want to speak with absolute clarity. Your struggle does not mean you are less loved. Your season of lack does not mean you are on the outside of my care or at the bottom of my priority list. The difficulty you are walking through is not a measurement of your worth to me, not a reflection of how I feel about you, not a signal that my attention has gone elsewhere or that my love has cooled or that you have fallen out of favor. I did not love you because your circumstances were comfortable. I did not choose you because your life was easy, or your faith was perfect, or your track record was spotless. I love you because you are mine, because I made you, because from before you drew your first breath, I set my affection on you with a love that is not dependent on your performance or your circumstances, a love that does not fluctuate with the fluctuations of your situation. The one who is walking through visible abundance and the one who is walking through painful scarcity are equally held in my love. The one whose needs are being met in ways everyone can see and the one whose needs feel invisible to everyone around them are both equally precious to me, both equally seen by me, both equally the object of my full and undivided care and attention. Your value is not in your productivity. It is not in your abundance. It is not in what you can produce or what others can see in your life. Your value is in who you are to me. And that does not change with the seasons, does not fluctuate with the economy, does not depend on a single thing in your circumstances. Hear me on this next part, because I think it might be one of the most important things I have to say to you today. I am aware of exactly what you need, not generally, not approximately, not in the ballpark of what you require. Exactly, I know the specific number. I know the specific situation. I know the specific deadline. I know which relationship is straining under the financial pressure, what that strain is doing to the people involved, how it is affecting the way you feel about yourself. I know the specific dream that has been quietly dying because the resources have not come. I know which area of your life is the most painful right now, in terms of what is missing, what is lacking, what has not arrived when it should have. I know the thing you have not told anyone because you are embarrassed by how specific and ordinary the need is, how small it might seem to someone else. That quiet calculation you ran in your head, the one where you tried once again to figure out if things could possibly work and they did not add up, and you set the phone down and lay in the darkness with that familiar dread. I know that moment. I know all of it. I know it the way someone knows something who has been paying close attention, not the way an authority figure scans a file. I know it because I have been present with you in all of it, because I have been listening to your thoughts, because your life is not a report I read, but a story I am walking inside of with you. And I want you to hear that my awareness of your need is not cold or clinical. It is warm. It is personal. It moves me. When you are hurting from lack, when the worry keeps you from resting, when the fear sits in your chest through the hours of the day and wakes you in the hours of the night, I am not neutral about that. I am moved by it in the way a parent is moved when their child is hungry and cannot understand why the food is not coming. I care about your need deeply and personally, not because I am required to, not because that is the contractual obligation of a God to his people, but because you are dear to me and your pain is real to me, and the distance between where you are and where I want to bring you genuinely matters to me. It moves my heart, and my caring is not powerless. I am the one who made the universe. I am the one who holds all resources in my hands. Every door that could open for you, I hold the key to. Every connection that could come at the right moment I can arrange. Every unexpected source of provision, every surprising turn, every way in which something you did not plan becomes the thing that changes your situation, all of that is within my reach. My care for you is backed by my unlimited ability to act on your behalf. You are not hoping in a God who cares but cannot actually do anything about it. You are trusting in a God who cares and who can do absolutely anything that serves your genuine good, with no constraint on his resources, no limit on his reach, no situation too complex or too far gone or too long neglected for him to work in. Let me speak to the specific ways I am calling you to move right now, because I am not simply asking you to sit still and passively wait for things to fall from the sky. My provision most often comes in collaboration with your action. I open doors and I ask you to walk through them. I put opportunities in your path and I ask you to reach out and take hold of them. I give you wisdom and I ask you to apply it. I give you skills and I ask you to use them. I give you connections and I ask you to steward them faithfully. The provision I release into your life is not meant to replace your participation. It is meant to empower it. When I told the widow to gather jars, she had to go and gather them. She had to do the physical work before the oil began to flow in a way that filled them. When I opened the Red Sea, the people of Israel had to walk forward into it before it was fully open, before the path was fully established. When my Son multiplied the bread, the disciples had to take it and distribute it, hands reaching out, giving what was in their hands, trusting that what was in their hands would be enough. There is always a human part. There is always the moment where I say, now move, now step, now act on what you believe, and I am saying that to you today. Whatever door has been in front of you that fear has kept you from walking through, it is time to walk through it. Whatever conversation you have been putting off because the uncertainty is uncomfortable and you do not know how it will go, have it. Whatever step of faith has been sitting on the edge of your awareness, the one you keep thinking about but keep postponing because the timing never feels quite right or the conditions are never quite ideal, take it. I will meet you in the motion. I have never left someone stranded who stepped out in honest trust in me, not once in all of history. When you act on what you believe, when you move toward the thing I have been indicating, you create the conditions in which my provision can arrive in the most direct and immediate way. Staying still when I am calling you forward is not safety. It is a kind of faith starvation, a refusal to exercise the muscle that grows stronger only through use. The anxiety that comes when you try to calculate how this is going to work deserves direct attention. You know exactly what I mean. The mental exercise of trying to trace every possible path from where you are to where you need to be, running the numbers over and over, hoping that this time they will somehow add up differently, constructing scenarios in your head and then dismantling them because none of them quite reach, feeling the tightness in your chest that comes from trying to solve a problem that is larger than your ability to solve it. I know that mental exhaustion. I see it in you, and I want to release you from it. Not from responsibility, not from prudent thinking, not from sensible planning and preparation, but from the frantic and unceasing mental labor of trying to engineer in your own mind a solution to something that is beyond what your mind can engineer. You're trying to carry a weight that was never designed for human shoulders to carry indefinitely. The responsibility for working out exactly how every provision will come is mine, not yours. The intricate choreography of circumstances and connections and timings that brings the right thing at the right moment, that is my domain. Your responsibility is to be faithful in what I give you to do, to use wisely what I place in your hands, to remain attentive to my voice and responsive to my promptings, to take the steps I indicate when I indicate them. The engineering of how all of it comes together is something I am far better equipped to handle than you are. Hand that part back to me. Cast your anxiety on me, not as a religious phrase to repeat without engagement, not as a spiritual technique to try once and then abandon when it does not produce instant results, as a literal, deliberate, repeated act of surrender. Take what you are carrying right now, the specific worry, the concrete fear, the particular thing that has been keeping you up, the thought that arrives uninvited in the quiet moments, and bring it deliberately and consciously into my presence and set it down. Say out loud if that helps you, I cannot carry this the way I have been carrying it. I believe you are my provider. I am releasing this into your hands, and then resist the urge to immediately pick it back up, because the pattern is predictable. You put it down, you feel a brief relief, and then 20 minutes later, you pick it up again because it feels irresponsible to leave it. Because leaving it in my hands feels like doing nothing. But trusting me does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what I give you to do while leaving the outcome genuinely in my hands. Active faithfulness combined with surrendered outcome. Do your part. Trust me with the results. That is the balance I am calling you to, and it is both harder and more restful than anything you have been trying. There is something I want to correct in the way you may have been thinking about this season, something that I want to address directly, because the false belief can do real damage if it is left unchallenged. You may have interpreted the difficulty you are walking through as evidence that you have done something wrong, that you are being punished, that the lack is a message from me about your failures or your unworthiness. That needs to be addressed with both clarity and tenderness. That is not how I work. I am not in the business of withholding provision from my children as punishment for their mistakes. that would be a contradiction of everything I am. It would be a contradiction of the love I have declared toward you, a contradiction of the covenant I hold with you, a contradiction of the finished work on the cross where the price for every failure was already paid in full, and the bill was marked canceled and the ledger was cleared. If there is something in your life that needs to be addressed, if there is a direction I want you to change, a pattern I want you to examine, something I am calling you to release or to pick up, I am more than capable of speaking to you about that clearly and directly and lovingly. I do not need to create material hardship to get your attention. When I speak correction, I come in love, in gentleness, in truth that builds rather than destroys. So if you have been carrying guilt about the season you are in, if you have been interpreting the difficulty as a sign of divine displeasure, I want you to put that interpretation down today. The difficulty you are walking through is not a verdict on your worth. It is a season, and like every season, it has a purpose, it has a beginning, and it has an end. The purpose of a difficult season is often something more valuable than anything the difficulty costs you. I know that sounds like it could be cold comfort when you are in the middle of the hard part. I am not asking you to be grateful for the pain in a way that denies the pain or performs a positivity you do not feel. I am asking you to trust that there is a purpose, even when you cannot see it, that the difficulty is not purposeless suffering, but purposeful formation. What grows in you during the lean seasons is not something that can grow any other way. The depth of trust that develops when you choose to believe I am your provider in the middle of a season when you cannot see how that is going to work out, that depth cannot be manufactured by comfortable abundance. The knowledge of my faithfulness that settles into your bones when I bring you through something that looked impossible, that knowledge becomes an anchor that holds you in every future storm because it is not theoretical. It is experiential. It is something you have actually lived and cannot be argued out of. The compassion you develop for others who are walking through lack because you yourself have walked through lack, that compassion is a form of provision I am putting in you for other people who will need exactly what you will be able to give them because you know what it feels like. The stripping away of things you were depending on instead of me, the reduction of what was insulating you from the full awareness of your need for me. That stripping away is painful, but it is not punishment. It is preparation. It is me making more room in you for more of me, because ultimately, I am the greatest provision. I am the thing you need most, deeper than food and shelter and financial stability. Though I am the source of all of those things too, and sometimes the path to receiving that truth in its full depth runs through a season where everything else has been reduced, and I remain. I am the one thing that does not get subtracted in the subtracting season. And when everything else has been taken down to its essential minimum, and I am still there, still speaking, still present, still providing exactly what you need, something becomes settled in you about who I am that could not have been settled any other way. A foundation is built in those seasons that cannot be built when everything is comfortable and easy. A kind of knowing is established that does not shake when the circumstances shake. Your family is also on my heart right now, because the weight of provision is heaviest when it is not just about yourself. When there are people you love depending on you, people you feel responsible for, people whose faces you see and whose needs you know and who trust you in ways that fill you with a mixture of love and terror, the anxiety about provision can become almost unbearable. The fear of failing them, the fear of not being able to give them what they need, the fear of them going without because you were not enough or could not figure it out or the resources did not come in time, that is a very particular and painful kind of fear, and I do not dismiss it. Let me speak to it directly. Your family is not outside my awareness. They are not in a category separate from my care. Some part of your life I watch with less attention or less investment. Every one of them, each by name, each with their specific needs and their specific struggles and their specific fears, every one of them is known to me the same way you are known to me, personally, completely, with warm attention and genuine investment. I did not create your love for them and then leave them unattended. I did not put them in your life and then step back from responsibility for their well-being as if that were entirely your problem to solve. They are mine as much as you are mine. My provision for your household is not limited by your ability to provide. My ability to ensure that they are cared for is not contingent on you having everything figured out or on your resources being adequate. I can and will work through you when that is possible and when you are the right channel. But when you are at the limit of what you can do, I do not hit that same limit. I will work around circumstances and through other means. I will open unexpected doors. I will bring provision from directions no one anticipated, because the well-being of your household is my concern, and I do not abandon what is my concern. I want you to pray for your family with a different quality of prayer than worry dressed up in religious language. I want you to pray from trust. I want you to bring them before me, not as a desperate plea from someone who is uncertain whether I will come through, but as the confident intercession of a child who knows their father hears and responds and cares deeply. Bring them to me with the posture of one who is placing something precious in the hands of someone who can be absolutely trusted with precious things, who has demonstrated that trustworthiness over and over. Come to me about your family with this declaration. I know you love them more than I am capable of loving them. I know your resources for their care are infinite where mine are limited. I know you see their futures and I cannot. I release them into your hands. I trust you with the people I love most, and then rest in that release rather than immediately taking them back out of my hands. Hope deserves a direct conversation because in a long season of difficulty, it can erode. It is one of the quietest and most painful forms of loss. You start out believing that things will change, that the provision will come, that the breakthrough is just around the corner, and when it does not come as quickly as you expected, something in you begins to close. The hope that was once easy to feel becomes a conscious choice you have to make, and then even the conscious choice becomes harder, and eventually, you can find yourself going through the external motions of faith while the genuine expectation that things will change has quietly gone cold inside you. I am not condemning you for that. I understand exactly how it happens and I understand how it feels. The wearing down of hope over time in a long season of waiting is one of the hardest spiritual experiences there is. But I want to come to that place today. I want to come to where the hope has gone cold and breathe on it and say, not yet. Do not close the door on this yet. What you thought was too late to still hope for, it is not too late. What you have been waiting for longer than you thought you could wait. Keep waiting, because I am still working even when you cannot see the work. What seems to have been promised and never delivered, I have not forgotten it. I do not make promises I do not keep. I do not raise expectations in your heart for my own amusement or to set you up for disappointment. When something has been kindled in you, when a sense of what is coming has been planted in you, when a promise has been spoken to you through my word or in the quiet of your spirit, I am committed to that promise. Hold on. Let the hope come back. It is safe to hope again because you are not hoping in a wishful idea or a human word that might fall through. You are hoping in the word of the God who does not lie, who does not forget, who is not subject to the delays and failures that human promises are subject to. who is fully capable of delivering what he has promised, regardless of how impossible the circumstances look. The peace I want to give you about provision is a different kind of peace than the kind that comes from having all your questions answered and all your needs visibly met. That kind of peace is dependent on circumstances, and circumstances are unstable and unreliable as a permanent foundation. The peace I am offering you is the kind that exists before the circumstances are resolved, the kind that holds you steady while you are still waiting for the answer, the kind that is not shaken by bad news, because it is not built on good news. It is built on who I am. It is built on the unchanging character of the God who is for you and who has committed himself to your good. My peace, which is beyond what your mind can produce or logically explain, is available to you right now, in the middle of whatever you are facing, before anything visible has changed. It is available through the practice of bringing me your anxiety rather than carrying it in silence, through the discipline of focusing your attention on what is true about me rather than on what feels overwhelming about your situation, through the act of trust that says, I do not have to understand how this is going to work out in order to trust that you are working it out. That peace is not irresponsibility. It is not naivety. It is the sanity and stability of a mind that has found its foundation in something solid enough to stand on when everything else is moving. The dreams that financial difficulty has been threatening are on my mind right now. The things you wanted to do, the places you wanted to go, the things you wanted to build or create or contribute that have felt increasingly out of reach as the resources have not come. The visions you carry for your life that feel like they are slowly fading, being replaced by simpler and smaller expectations because you have lowered your gaze to what seems survivable rather than what I placed in you as possible. I see those dreams. I know what they are because I am the one who placed them in you. And I want to say to you, those dreams that came from me are not canceled. They may be delayed. They may look different in their final form than they looked when they first arose in you, because I am always working with your actual life and not a theoretical version of your life. But the things I placed in your heart as genuine desires, as true callings, as directions I want your life to go, those are not arbitrary. I put them there because they are part of the story I am telling through your life, part of the contribution you are meant to make, part of what the world needs from you specifically and uniquely. When the resources those dreams require are not yet visible, that is not a sign that the dreams were wrong. It may simply be that the timing is not yet right, that there are things in you that still need to develop before you would be able to sustain what the dream requires, that there are circumstances that still need to arrange themselves before the door can open. Wait for it. Prepare yourself as though it is coming. Live as though what I have promised you is real, because it is, and your living in alignment with it creates the conditions in which it can arrive. Do not lower the vision to match the resources. Trust me to bring the resources to meet the vision I gave you. Let me speak about doors and opportunities, because this is one of the most concrete ways I want to address your situation right now. There are doors around you that you have not yet seen. There are opportunities in your vicinity that have not yet become visible to you. There are connections waiting to be made, conversations waiting to happen, moments of intersection being arranged on your behalf by a God who knows exactly what you need and exactly when it needs to arrive. Part of my work as your provider is the work of orchestrating, of bringing together the right people at the right time, of creating the conditions in which an opportunity that could not have existed suddenly exists, of opening what could not have been opened by any human effort or strategy. I am actively doing that for you right now, not as a response to your perfect faith, not as a reward for your complete readiness, simply because you are mine and your well-being is my concern, and I am the kind of God who arranges things on behalf of the ones he loves. Stay attentive. Stay engaged with your life and your relationships and the things that come across your path. When something unexpected presents itself, do not dismiss it too quickly. Ask me about it. Hold it before me. See whether I am the one who put it in your path. Because some of what I am sending you will arrive in forms you did not expect, and you could miss it if you are only watching for provision to come in the way you imagined. The connection you need might look like a casual conversation at first. The opportunity that changes your direction might look small and unremarkable at the beginning. The door that opens your future might not look like anything significant from the outside. Stay open. Stay curious. Stay present. And when the door opens, I want to address the fear that I know will come, because it always comes. The fear that says, this might not work. The fear that says, what if I try and fail? The fear that says, is it really safe to step into this? Those fears are natural responses of a person who has been hurt before, who has risked before and not had it go the way they hoped, who has learned from experience that not everything that looks like an opening is actually the right door. I understand why the fear is there, and I am not dismissing it, but I do not want you to let it stop you from moving. Feel the fear and move anyway. Take the step that is in front of you even when your knees are shaking, even when you cannot see all the way to the end of the path, even when the risk is real and the outcome is uncertain, because what I have placed before you requires your courage. What I cannot give you is certainty in the way your anxiety wants it, the kind that eliminates all risk and guarantees a specific outcome. What I can give you is my presence in whatever comes. My commitment to stay with you through the thing I led you into. My promise that I will not abandon you in the middle of what I opened for you. Step forward. Community deserves mention here, because provision rarely comes in isolation. One of the primary ways I provide for my people is through each other, through the network of human relationships I weave together for exactly this purpose. You were not meant to navigate this alone. You were not designed to carry every burden in private, to solve every problem in isolation, to struggle in silence while sitting next to people who might have exactly the wisdom or the resource or the encouragement you need. There is a pride that can keep you from receiving from others, a pride that feels like strength but actually functions as a wall that cuts you off from one of the main channels through which I provide. I give to you through the people I have placed in your life. I speak to you through the voices of those who know you and love you. I practically provide for you through the networks of relationship and community that surround you. Letting people in is not weakness. Asking for help is not failure. Receiving what someone else offers you is not dependency. It is the natural exchange of a life lived in genuine relationship, and it is one of the channels through which my provision flows most freely. Let yourself receive. Let the people around you be part of how I take care of you, and in turn, let yourself be part of how I take care of them. Let me speak to those of you who are carrying the specific weight of debt, because for some of you this is a daily heaviness that colors everything. The weight of owing, of having obligations that feel like chains, of working hard and seeing so much of what you earn go toward what was already spent, of carrying the memory of past decisions that put you in a difficult place. Your debt does not define you. You are not your financial history. The weight you are carrying is real, but it is not your identity, and it does not determine your worth or your access to my love and my provision. I meet you where you are, in the actual situation you are actually in. There are paths forward from the place you are in. Wisdom and discipline and the willingness to make choices that are uncomfortable in the short term for the sake of freedom in the longer term are things I will give you as you ask for them. Freedom is coming. The chains that feel permanent are not permanent. I am in the business of freedom, including freedom from the bondage that financial pressure creates. Now I want to speak to something that is perhaps the most personal layer of what I am saying to you today. The part of you that is afraid not just about money or resources, but about the future as a whole. The part of you that wonders whether things are going to be okay, not just financially okay, but fundamentally, meaningfully okay. Whether the life you are living is going somewhere worth going, whether the hardship has any destination, whether you will come out the other side of this into something worth coming out into. That is the deepest question, and my answer to it is yes. Not because everything will be painless, not because there will be no more difficult seasons after this one, but because I am in this story with you, and I am writing it toward good. Every hard chapter is a chapter in a story that has a good ending. I have promised to work all things together for good for those who love me. That promise does not have exceptions. It says all things. Everything in your story, including the parts you would never have chosen, is in the hands of the one who knows how to work them for your good. There's a picture I want to leave with you of what is happening in your life right now. A picture I want you to carry with you as a source of hope and steadiness. The picture is of a field that has been dry. The soil has been cracked. The things you planted with care and with faith seem to have not come up the way you hoped. You are standing there, tired from tending something that has not yet produced what you worked for, wondering whether the work will ever pay off, wondering whether the seed was even good, wondering whether you planted in the right place or at the right time. The waiting has been long. The visible results have been discouraging. The gap between what you put in and what you have gotten out has been painful. And then the rain comes. Not a light drizzle, not a teasing suggestion of moisture that raises your hopes only to dry up quickly, but real rain. The kind that soaks into the deep places of the soil, the kind that reaches the roots of what was planted and says, not dead, not wasted, just waiting for this water that is now falling, and what you had given up hope on begins to stir. The ground that looked barren begins to respond. The thing you worked for and waited for and nearly stopped believing in begins to push up through the surface with a life and a force that surprises you. That is what I am doing. I am the rain that is coming to the dry places in your life. I am the thing that will activate what you thought was lost. The provision you have been waiting for, the breakthrough you have been working toward, the answer you have almost stopped expecting. It is coming. It is on its way. It will reach you. And when it does, you will understand that the waiting was not abandonment. It was preparation. It was the ground getting ready to receive what I was always going to send. Stay with this a moment longer, because hearing the rain promise and immediately feeling the familiar disappointment of having heard something like this before and not seeing it happen quickly enough is something worth addressing. I know the texture of that disappointment. I know how promises about provision can start to feel hollow when you have been hearing them for a long time without seeing the thing arrive. So let me say this carefully. I am not making you a promise about a specific day or a specific form or a specific amount. What I am promising you is consistent with everything I have said about my character. I am promising that I have not forgotten. I am promising that I am not done with your situation. I am promising that what I have spoken over you, what I have planted in you, what I have been building in you, is not wasted. I am promising that I am working even when you cannot see the work, and I am promising that the day of visible provision is real, and it is coming, not as a reward for your patience, but as the natural outcome of a God who provides, actually providing for the child he loves. You are not forgotten. Say that out loud right now if you can. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not on the outside of my care. You are exactly where I can see you, exactly where I am reaching toward you, exactly where my provision is being directed. The fact that you cannot see all of what I am doing does not mean nothing is happening. The fact that the answer has not arrived yet does not mean the answer is not coming. The fact that the situation looks unchanged does not mean it is unchanged where I am working. Hold on, stay open, keep trusting. Keep acting in the wisdom I give you. Keep returning to me each day, not out of obligation, but out of the real knowledge that I am where the supply comes from, that I am where the strength comes from, that I am the shepherd who will not rest until his sheep have what they need. And I will meet you. I am meeting you even now in these words, with this truth, with this reminder of who I am and how I feel about you and what I am committed to doing for you. You shall not lack. I have spoken it over your life. I speak it again now. You shall not lack the things you genuinely need, not because your circumstances are going to cooperate perfectly from this moment forward, but because I am your provider, and I do not abandon that role. Not because you have been perfect, but because my provision flows from my love, and my love is not contingent on your perfection. Not because every question will be answered before you need to trust, but because I am asking you to trust first and watch the answers come. You shall not lack. That is my word to you. That is my commitment. That is the covenant I hold with you as your shepherd, your father, your provider, your God. Walk in this. Wake up and choose this over the fear. When the calculation looks impossible, choose this over the calculation. When the waiting extends longer than you thought it would, choose this over the discouragement. When someone tells you it cannot work, choose this over their assessment. I am bigger than every calculation that says it does not add up. I am beyond every timeline that says it is taking too long. I am greater than every voice that says it cannot be done. I am the God for whom nothing is impossible, and I am your God, and I am entirely for you, and I will provide for you. Every door you need opened, I will open. Every resource you genuinely need, I will supply. Every dream I placed in you, I will equip you for and bring you toward. Every need in your household, I will meet. Every chain of debt and lack and fear, I will break. Every dry and cracked place in your life, I will cause to drink deeply. Every seed you have planted in faith and not yet seen break through the surface, I will bring to harvest. Every sleepless night spent calculating what seems impossible, I will replace with rest that comes from genuine trust. Every voice that has told you it is too late and too far gone and too difficult, I will silence with the evidence of my faithfulness. I am the Lord your God. I am your shepherd, and because I am your shepherd, you shall not lack anything you truly need. That is my word, and it does not return to me empty. So receive it. Let it go down into the deep places in you where the fear has been living. Let it displace the anxiety and replace it with the quiet but unshakable conviction that the God who made you is also the God who keeps you, that the shepherd who called you is the shepherd who provides for you, and that nothing in your situation is beyond the reach of the one who holds everything in his hands. Receive it. Walk in it. And watch what becomes possible when truth becomes the ground beneath your feet. There is more to say, because this conversation is not finished. The matter of provision, the reality of who I am as your God, and what I have committed to do for you, deserves to go deeper, because I know how quickly words like these can feel real in the moment and then fade when the circumstances reassert themselves and the fear returns. Something more durable than a good feeling that lasts a few hours is what this is building toward. A settled knowing, a conviction that holds under pressure, a trust that is not rattled by difficult news or extended waiting or the gap between what you believe and what you currently see. That kind of trust is built by going deeper, by returning to the same truth from different angles, by examining it in its fullness until it becomes part of how you actually think rather than something you remember having heard once and liked. So, stay with me a little longer. There is more I want to say. The nature of need itself deserves attention here because there is something important about it that you may have missed. You have been thinking about your need as a problem to be solved, and that is a natural way to think about it. A need is a gap between what you have and what you require, and when you encounter a gap, the instinct is to find a way to close it, to identify the solution, to bridge the distance with available resources. That is sensible. That is practical. I am not criticizing that instinct, but I want to invite you into a different relationship with your need, one that does not just see it as a problem, but also sees it as an invitation. Every genuine need you have is an invitation to experience who I am in a way you could not experience me if you had everything you needed already in your own hands. The widow who had the handful of flour and nothing else encountered something about me that she never could have encountered if her pantry had been full. The children of Israel discovered something about the nature of daily dependence and daily faithfulness that could not have been revealed to them in abundance. You, in this season of need, are positioned to experience a dimension of who I am that only opens up to those who are genuinely without and genuinely looking to me. That does not make the need pleasant. It does not mean you should not want it to change, but it means that even while you are in it, there is something being given to you in the need itself that you should not miss. When you are in genuine need and you turn to me, you learn things about the quality of my care that prosperity cannot teach. You learn that I am not a God of abundance who condescends to help the poor. You learn that I am a God who is specifically, particularly, tenderly present to those who are without. You learn that my attention goes to the hungry before it goes to the full, to the empty before the overflowing, to the one who has run out before the one who has more than enough. This is consistent throughout my word. I am drawn to the empty place. I fill what is hungry. I come to what is without. And when you are in the without place and you discover that I am there, that I am more present than you expected, that the quality of my company in the empty place is richer than the quality of my company in the full place, something shifts in you that cannot shift any other way. You begin to understand that having me is the provision that matters most, and that everything else I give you is secondary to the gift of knowing me this well. That knowing is what I am building in you in this season. What it means practically to wait on me when you are in need is worth unpacking carefully, because waiting is one of the most misunderstood things in the life of faith, and I think you may be doing it in a way that is making it harder than it needs to be. When I say wait on me, I am not saying sit down and do nothing while watching the door for something to drop through the letterbox. I am not asking you to become passive or inert or disengaged from your life while you wait for me to act. Waiting on me is an active posture. It is the posture of someone who is attentive, expectant, prepared, engaged with everything in front of them while remaining anchored to the conviction that the outcome is in my hands. A watchman waits on the walls. He does not lie down and sleep because the city is not yet under attack. He stays alert, stays present, stays ready, keeps his eyes on the horizon. That is the quality of waiting I am calling you to. Stay engaged with your life. Keep doing the work I have given you to do. Keep making the calls and having the conversations and showing up in the relationships and the responsibilities. Keep being faithful in the practical things, and while you do all of that, keep your expectation fixed on me rather than on your own efforts as the source of what is coming. That is what it means to wait on me. When you wait in that way, you will find something remarkable happens. You stop being exhausted by the effort in the way you were when you were trying to manufacture the outcome yourself, not because the effort decreases, but because the weight of the outcome is no longer entirely on the effort. You are doing the work, but you are not trying to carry the result. And that difference, though it may seem subtle, is enormous in terms of what it costs you. The person who is doing everything they can while trusting me with the outcome is doing the same actions as the person who is doing everything they can while desperately trying to control the outcome. But the inner experience is completely different. One is exhausting. The other is sustainable. One drains you. The other, strange as it sounds, actually builds you up even in the midst of the effort. That is the gift of learning to wait on me actively, rather than either doing everything frantically or doing nothing passively. Let me talk to you about the specific experience of financial lack, because I know there is something about this particular kind of need that carries a shame that other kinds of need do not always carry. Emotional need, relational need, even spiritual need, these can feel more private, more acceptable to struggle with. But financial need is visible in ways other needs are not. It shows up in what you can and cannot do. It shows up in conversations and decisions and the quiet calculations you make every time you have to make a choice that involves money. It shows up in the way you compare yourself to others, in the way you explain or do not explain your situation to the people around you, in the way you feel about yourself when provision has not come the way you expected it to. There is a particular weight of embarrassment and sometimes of shame in financial struggle that I want to directly address. That shame is not from me. I have never placed shame on anyone who is in need. I have never looked at someone who is struggling to meet their practical needs and thought less of them. I am the one who came to the woman at the well. I am the one who sat with the tax collector. I am the one who fed the crowd that had nothing. I am the one who spoke specifically about how the poor are blessed, how the humble inherit the earth, how the one who has nothing in the world's estimation is often rich in the things that matter in my kingdom. I do not look down on need, I draw close to it. The shame you feel about your financial situation is coming from the world system of value, from the voices that tell you your worth is measured by your economic output, from the comparisons that make you feel like you are behind, or less than, or not enough. Those voices are not my voice. My voice says, you are seen, you are loved, your need is legitimate. I am not embarrassed to be called your provider. I am not embarrassed by the size of your need. I am not withholding from you because I am unimpressed by you. I am working for you because you are mine. The comparison trap also needs a word, because how painful it is to watch others seem to have what you are praying for, to see provision arriving in someone else's life while you are still waiting, to watch the door open for someone else while yours remains closed. I know how hard it is to celebrate the provision others are receiving when your own need feels urgent and your own waiting has been long. I am not going to tell you that you should feel nothing about that you should be perfectly happy watching others receive what you have been asking for. The longing is real, and I understand it, but I want to give you a frame that might help. The provision I release into one person's life does not reduce the provision available for another person. My resources do not run out. What I give to your neighbor is not taken from what I have for you. My abundance is not a fixed pool that gets depleted as I distribute from it. It is a source, and a source by definition keeps producing. So when you see someone else receiving, you are not watching something that came at your expense. You are watching a demonstration of the same faithfulness that is coming toward you. Let someone else's answered prayer strengthen your faith rather than diminish your hope. There is also something I want to say about timing, because I know that one of the most difficult parts of trusting me with provision is the timing dimension. It is one thing to trust that I will provide. It is another thing to trust that I will provide at the right time, especially when you have a deadline, when there is a window that closes, when the need is urgent in a way that makes waiting feel impossible. I am aware of every deadline in your situation. I am not watching your circumstances with vague indifference, thinking in terms of sometime and eventually and whenever things work out. I am precise. I am detailed. When I say I will provide, I am saying I will provide what you need in the way you need it at the time that best serves your situation, even when that time looks different to me than it looks to you. The timing of my provision is not arbitrary. It is designed with knowledge of things you cannot see, not just your immediate need, but the downstream effects, not just what this provision will do for you now, but what the timing of it will do for the shape of your life over the next season. Trust my timing. Even when it feels close to late, I am not actually late. I have never been late for something that mattered to the people in my care. Let me tell you about a specific thing I want to do in you as I bring provision into your life, because provision is not just about filling an empty place. It is about forming something in you. When I provide for you in a situation where you could not see how it was going to happen, what forms in you is faith, real faith, proven faith, faith that is not based on theory but on experience, faith that says, I have seen this God provide in an impossible situation, and I know He can do it again. That faith becomes part of your foundation. It becomes something no one can take from you because it is built on experience rather than on someone else's testimony, on what you have actually lived rather than on what you have read or heard. Every time I bring provision into your life, I am not just meeting the need, I am building the foundation of your trust. I am giving you another stone for the altar of remembrance that you will point to when the next hard season comes and say, look what He did. Look how He came through. He did it then, and He can do it again. That altar of remembrance is one of the most important things I am building in you, because it is the thing you will draw on in the next season of need to hold your faith steady. Gratitude deserves a careful look now, not as a duty you owe me, but as a posture that actually changes how you experience what you are walking through. When you are in the middle of a season of lack, gratitude can feel like a cruel demand. You may have heard people say, just be grateful for what you have, and it felt dismissive, felt like a denial of the reality of your need, felt like something people say when they do not really understand what you are facing. I am not saying it that way. I am not asking you to be grateful for the lack or to pretend the pain is not real. What I am inviting you into is the practice of noticing what is still present, even in the middle of what is absent. Because even in the hardest seasons, even when so much is missing, there is always something that is still there. The fact that you are here, the fact that you are breathing, the fact that you have access to these words in this moment, the people who have stayed, the capacity to feel and think and hope, the small things that have held, the moments of unexpected kindness that appeared in the middle of hard days. Noticing those things is not denying the hard things. It is insisting on the full picture, and the full picture almost always contains more than just the lack. And gratitude does something practical in you. It shifts your attention, even briefly, from what isn't there to what is. And in that shift, something opens. The door to receiving more opens a little wider when you are already in the posture of acknowledging what has been given. The faith that more is coming is easier to hold when you are paying attention to what has already arrived. Gratitude is not just a spiritual nicety. It is a practice that keeps you oriented toward me as the source, that keeps you in the awareness of being provided for rather than the awareness of being without, and that awareness itself shapes what you are able to receive. I am not asking for gratitude because I need your appreciation. I am inviting you into gratitude because it is one of the postures that most directly positions you to receive more of what I want to give. Let me speak now about the connection between provision and purpose, because I do not want you to think of provision as an end in itself. Provision is not the final destination. Provision is what makes the journey possible. What I want to provide for you is not just enough to get by, not just enough to cover the bills, not just enough to make the immediate anxiety stop. What I want to provide for you is everything you need to walk fully and freely into the life I designed for you, the resources to pursue the calling I put in you, the freedom from financial chains that makes it possible to say yes to the things I am leading you toward without the constraint of desperate lack, making every choice about survival. The stability that allows you to be present and generous and open-handed rather than tight and withdrawn and defensive. Provision is in service of purpose, and my purpose for you is not small. You were not made to simply survive. You were not created to spend your entire life scrambling for enough and never quite getting there, your attention consumed by the logistics of basic need, your capacity for love and creativity and contribution diminished by the ongoing drain of financial pressure. That is not the life I designed for you. I designed a life in which your needs are met and your attention is freed for the things that matter most, for the relationships, for the contribution, for the growth, for the love, for the service that your life is actually about. Provision is the infrastructure of that life, and when I provide for you, I am not just putting money in your account. I am building the infrastructure for the life you were actually meant to live. That is why I take your provisions seriously. That is why the question of whether you have enough is not a small or peripheral matter to me. It is directly connected to whether you are able to live the life I designed for you. When you are in constant financial strain, something important is being lost beyond just comfort. The capacity to be fully present in relationships is diminished because worry keeps pulling your mind away. The willingness to take risks that align with your calling is reduced because you cannot afford the failure. The generosity that is meant to flow through you to others is constricted because you are managing scarcity rather than distributing abundance. I see all of that, and I want to address all of that. Not just the practical provision, but the fuller life that the practical provision makes possible. Something about the connection between your provision and your obedience needs to be said, not to create fear, but to give you something actionable. When I lead you in a direction, when I indicate a step, when I make clear what I am asking you to do, walking in obedience to that leading is connected to the release of provision in ways that are real and significant. Not because I withhold as punishment when you do not obey, but because some provision is on the other side of a step I am asking you to take, and you cannot reach what is on the other side without taking the step. The open door has to be walked through to be entered. The provision I have arranged for you through a particular connection or opportunity cannot be accessed until you engage with that connection or take hold of that opportunity. So if there is something you know I have been asking you to do, something you have been delaying or resisting or putting off for reasons that have more to do with fear than with genuine wisdom, I want to invite you to consider that the provision you are waiting for might be connected to the step you have been delaying. Walk in what I have shown you. Take the step I have indicated. Move toward what I have placed before you, and watch what becomes possible on the other side of your obedience. The prayer life that goes along with trust in my provision also matters, because there is a way of praying about your needs that builds faith and a way of praying about your needs that feeds anxiety. The difference is not in the content of what you bring to me, but in the posture you bring it with. When you pray your need to me and then walk away in a state of panic, checking constantly to see if anything has changed, calculating obsessively whether the prayer has produced any results, you are not actually praying in trust. You are praying in worry, and the prayer is not changing the worry. The worry is simply inserting itself into the prayer. When you pray your need to me and then genuinely release the outcome, when you say what you need to say and then leave it in my hands and go back to the day with a different quality of weight, that is prayer in trust, and it produces something different in you. I am not saying you should only pray once. I am not saying ongoing prayer about ongoing needs is wrong. I am saying there is a quality of release and surrender that should mark your prayers, a genuine handover of the outcome, a real leaving of the burden rather than a verbal statement of trust, followed immediately by picking the burden back up. Come to me about your needs. Come often. Come specifically. Come with the real situation, the actual numbers, the concrete need. Do not come with vague spiritual language that avoids saying what you actually need. I know what you need, but there is something valuable in you naming it clearly before me, in being specific and honest rather than performing a generalized spiritual confidence that is not connected to the actual situation. Come honestly. Come with what is real. And when you have said it, when you have placed it before me, practice leaving it there. Practice the act of walking away from the prayer different than you walked in. Not because you have solved anything, or because the circumstances have already changed, but because you have genuinely handed something to the one who is capable of handling it. What changes when provision arrives is worth thinking about now, before the season ends, to consider who you want to be on the other side of it. Because seasons do end. Waiting does come to a conclusion. Dry periods do give way to rain. And when the provision comes, when the need is met, when the thing you have been trusting me for arrives, there will be a temptation in that moment to simply feel relief and then move on, as if the season was just something to get through, rather than something that formed you. Resist that temptation. When the provision comes, remember what the waiting cost. Remember what it produced in you. Remember the specific things that happened in the hard season that you would not trade, even though you would not have chosen them. Let the memory of the hard season teach you generosity toward others who are in the same place you were in. Let the experience of waiting and trusting and eventually receiving become part of the testimony you carry, the story you tell, the encouragement you offer to the people around you who are in the middle of their own difficult seasons. Because you will meet them. You will meet people who are in the exact place you are in right now, afraid, exhausted from the effort, uncertain about whether the provision will come, wondering whether I have forgotten them or whether their faith is enough, and you will have something to offer them that no one who has only ever known abundance can offer. You will be able to say, I was there. I know what that feels like, and let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what I discovered about the God who provides. That testimony is part of the provision I am building right now. The season you are in is producing something that will bless people around you in ways you cannot yet see. The painful part of this season is preparing you to carry a gift that only people who have been through it can carry. One more thing about my character, because everything said in this long conversation ultimately rests on the question of who I am, and I want to make sure you have the most important pieces clearly in view. I am faithful. My faithfulness is not something I practice with effort or maintain by will. It is what I am. I cannot be unfaithful any more than fire can be cold or water can be dry. When I make a commitment, the commitment is real and permanent and not subject to revision based on your performance or your circumstances. I made a commitment to shepherd you, to provide for you, to never leave you without what you genuinely need, and that commitment is as real today as it has ever been. My faithfulness to you is not conditional on your faithfulness to me. I would prefer that you be faithful. I invite you to trust me and respond to me and walk in what I show you. But if you have been inconsistent, if you have had periods of doubt, if you have struggled to hold on to faith in the hard seasons, that has not changed my commitment to you. I am still your provider. I am still your shepherd. I am still the one who is working on your behalf in ways you cannot yet see. I am also patient. My patience is not passive. It is not me sitting back and watching you struggle while I wait for you to get your act together before I step in. My patience is the patience of a God who works at the right time, not the time that would remove all discomfort the fastest, but the time that produces the best outcome for the full shape of your life. When my provision seems delayed, it is not because I have forgotten. It is because I am working at a depth and a scale that your current view cannot encompass. I see the full picture. I see what this moment connects to in the trajectory of your story. And my patience in bringing things at the right time is a form of care, not a form of neglect. And I am generous, genuinely, exuberantly, abundantly generous. I do not give with one hand and take back with the other. I do not give minimally when I could give abundantly. My nature is overflow, not scarcity. When I provide as one who has unlimited resources and unlimited love and the genuine desire to bless you beyond what you asked for. You have not been promised bare survival. You have been promised abundance. Not necessarily the world's definition of abundance, which is excess and accumulation beyond any need, but the abundance of a life that is genuinely and deeply resourced for everything it was designed to do, where nothing essential is lacking, where there is enough for you and enough to give to others. That is what I am working toward for you. That is the vision of provision I hold for your life. Not just enough to stop the fear. Enough to live freely, give generously, and serve the purposes you were made for. So hear me again, one final time, before we end this conversation. You are not forgotten. You are not alone in this. The need you are carrying has been seen by the one who has both the heart to care about it and the power to do something about it. The provision you need is not impossible. It is simply not yet arrived. And the same God who fed 1 million people in the desert every morning for 40 years, who multiplied 5 loaves into abundance for thousands, who filled the widow's jars with oil that kept flowing, is the God who is presently and actively working on your behalf. He knows your name. He knows your need. He knows the timing. He is not late. He has not forgotten. He will not fail you. Walk into what is ahead of you with that settled in your bones. Let it be the foundation you stand on when the fear tries to pull you under. Let it be the truth you return to when the circumstances threaten to tell a different story. Let it be the word you speak over yourself when you need to be reminded of what is real. My God is my provider. He knows my need. He is already working. He will not fail me. That is the word I have spoken over you today. It is not empty. It will accomplish the purpose for which I sent it into your life. Receive it. Believe it. Let it do its work in you, and watch what becomes possible when you allow the truth of who I am to become the frame through which you see everything. There is one more thing that needs to be said before you go, and it is the most important thing of all. After everything that has been spoken today, after all the promises and the truths and the practical wisdom, what matters most is not that you understood the content, but that you received the heart behind it. The heart behind every word spoken here is love. Pure, personal, specific, unconditional love for you. Not admiration for your spiritual discipline or appreciation for your faithful effort, though those things matter. Love, the kind that existed before you did anything worth loving, the kind that does not increase when you succeed and does not decrease when you fail, the kind that will be present in every remaining moment of your life and will not end when this life ends. That love is what is behind every promise of provision I have made today. The reason I provide is not obligation or contract. The reason I provide is love. And because that love does not change, neither does my commitment to provision. So whatever you carry away from this, carry the love. Let it be what settles you when the fear returns. Let it be the foundation that holds when everything else is moving. You are loved by the God who made you, and that God will not let you lack. Before we reach the end of this, I want to leave you with something simple and practical, a way to carry what has been spoken into the ordinary moments of your days. Because the ordinary moments are where faith is actually tested, where the truth about provision is either held or let go, where the fear either wins or does not win. It is not in the dramatic moments that your faith is forged. It is in the Tuesday afternoon when the numbers do not add up and you choose to trust anyway. It is in the quiet hour when the worry surfaces and you choose to bring it to me rather than just turning it over in your mind again. It is in the moment someone asks how you are and you choose to be honest rather than performing an okay you do not feel. That is where the real work of faith happens. In the ordinary, unremarkable, everyday moments of a life being lived in trust. So here is what I want you to do in those moments. When the fear surfaces, name it. Do not pretend it is not there. Say, I am afraid, and then bring that specific fear to me, not in a panic, not in a desperate bargaining prayer, but in a deliberate and honest placement. I am bringing this fear to you. I believe you are my provider. I trust you with this. And then notice what happens when you actually make that placement and do not immediately take it back. Notice the small shift that occurs when you genuinely hand something to me rather than carrying it while talking about trusting me. That small shift is real. That is not your imagination. That is what happens when trust is practiced rather than just believed. And the more you practice it, in the small moments and the large ones, in the ordinary Tuesdays and the crisis moments, the more settled it becomes, the more naturally the trust comes, the more quickly you return to it when the fear arises. Practice it. It is one of the most important things you can do in this season. Carrying a need for a long time has a particular quality that deserves to be addressed, because what you are walking through changes when the waiting is extended. When you first encounter a need, there is something almost energizing about it, a clarity of focus, a sharpness of prayer, a sense that this is the thing I need to trust God for right now. You bring it to me with urgency and expectation and a freshness that is real. But when the need extends into weeks and then months and then a longer span, something shifts. The prayers become less sharp, less expectant, more like a going through of a familiar motion than a genuine reaching out. The hope that felt so clear at the beginning becomes harder to hold. The waiting, which at first felt like a short-term condition, begins to feel like a permanent state, like the way things are rather than a passing season. And the longer it extends, the harder it becomes to keep believing that the answer is coming rather than accepting that perhaps it is simply not. I know that process. I know it is happening for some of you right now, and I want to come into the middle of it with something real. The length of your waiting is not a measure of my indifference. The extension of your season of need is not evidence that I have lost track of your situation or that your prayer has gone unanswered in the sense of being heard and then set aside. I hear every prayer you have prayed about this, every single one, from the sharpest, most expectant ones early on to the tired, quieter ones of recent days that you barely had the energy to form properly. Every prayer has been received. Every prayer has registered. Every prayer has been taken seriously by the one you were praying to. The length of the waiting is not the measure of the quality of my hearing. It is a dimension of the provision itself, a dimension of how I am working in your situation that you cannot fully see from where you are standing. When the provision is delayed longer than expected, it is almost always because what I am building requires more time to build than a quick answer would allow. The thing I am putting together for you, the arrangement of circumstances and connections and opportunities and inner formation that will make the provision fully useful and fully received when it comes, takes longer than the quick answer would take. I am not building something temporary. I am not sending something that will meet the immediate need and leave you in the same vulnerable position 6 months from now. I am working toward something more durable, more complete, more freeing than the quick fix would produce, and that kind of work takes the time it takes. Your impatience with the timing is completely understandable, but your impatience does not change what the work requires. And I would rather take the time that produces something lasting than rush, something that solves the immediate problem without addressing the deeper need. So while you wait, I want you to notice what is happening in you. Because something is, the waiting is not empty time. It is active time, time in which things that cannot be built quickly are being built, time in which your trust is being tested and deepened, time in which your dependence on me is being established at a level that comfortable abundance would never have established, time in which your roots are going down so that when the provision arrives and the abundance comes, you will be grounded enough to hold it well, to steward it faithfully, to let it serve its full purpose rather than being swept away by it, or consumed by it, or defined by it in unhealthy ways. The waiting is preparation as much as it is delay, and what is being prepared is worth the time it is taking. I also want to speak to the specific fear of running out. The fear that is not just about the current gap, but about the trajectory. The fear that says things are getting worse rather than better, that the direction of travel is toward less rather than more, that the end of this road is a place of total lack rather than provision. I know that fear. It is one of the most paralyzing ones because it is about the future in a way that the present fear is not. It is not just, what do I do about today? It is, where is this all heading? And the answer I want to give you to that question is one that requires your trust to receive, because the answer is not visible in the circumstances. The answer is in who I am and what I have committed to. The trajectory of your life, the overall direction of travel, is not toward ruin. It is toward the good I have planned for you. Not because the road will always be smooth, not because there will not be more hard seasons after this one, but because the one who holds the road is committed to bringing you somewhere worth going. The overall arc of the story I am telling through your life is not a downward arc. It is an arc that bends toward redemption, toward restoration, toward the full expression of everything I made you to be, and the full experience of everything I planned for you to have. There is a courage that provision requires, and it deserves to be named, because there is a kind of courage that has nothing to do with physical bravery, and everything to do with the willingness to keep trusting when the circumstances give you every reason not to. The courage to bring a need to me for the 100th time, even when the first 99 times did not produce the answer you expected. The courage to maintain hope in a season that has not given you much visible reason for hope. The courage to hold on to what you believe about me, even when what you are experiencing seems to contradict it. The courage to act in faith when the outcome is uncertain. To take the step I am calling you to take when you do not know how it will land. To move toward the door I am indicating, even when you cannot yet see what is on the other side of it. That kind of courage is not dramatic or visible. It does not look like bravery from the outside. It looks like an ordinary person getting up and continuing to trust and continuing to act and continuing to bring themselves before me, even when they do not feel like it and even when they are not seeing results. But from where I stand, it is extraordinary. It is one of the most beautiful things I witness in the people I love. The quiet, continued, unseen courage of someone who keeps trusting even when trust is hard. That courage in you deserves to be honored. I want you to hear me say, I see what it costs you to keep trusting in the middle of this. I see the mornings when you have to choose again to believe. I see the moments when the fear almost wins and you choose to reach for me instead. I see the prayers you pray when praying feels like an empty exercise and you pray anyway. I see the faith you maintain when everything around you is saying, let it go. And I want you to know that it matters to me. Not because you are earning provision by your faithfulness, but because what you are doing in the hard seasons is deeply real and deeply precious to me, and I want you to know that I see it. You are not doing this in a vacuum. You are not holding on in a darkness where nobody is watching. I am watching. I am present. And what you are doing in this season, this quiet daily courage of continued trust, is something I value beyond what I can express. Revisiting something mentioned earlier, the matter of gratitude as a practice in the middle of need, is worth going deeper on. I said that gratitude shifts your attention from what is absent to what is present, and that is true. But I want to add something to that. Gratitude is also an act of defiance against a narrative that the enemy of your soul wants you to accept. The narrative the enemy wants you to live in is the narrative of abandonment, the story that says, you are on your own, I have forgotten you, the provision is not coming, you are going to be left without. That narrative feeds on everything that is absent and uses it to construct a picture of a God who is absent. Gratitude dismantles that narrative. When you choose to notice what is present, what has been given, what is still holding, you are refusing the narrative of abandonment and choosing the narrative of faithful provision. Even when the provision is small, even when it is not yet the full answer, even when it is only enough for today and not yet the breakthrough you need, you are actively choosing to see it as what it is. Evidence that I have not abandoned you, that I am still present, that the provision has not stopped, even if it has not yet reached the level you need it to reach. that choice of narrative matters more than it might seem. Because the narrative you live in shapes what you are able to see, and what you are able to see shapes what you are able to receive. If you are living in the narrative of abandonment, you will struggle to recognize the provision I am sending, because you are looking for absence rather than presence. If you are living in the narrative of faithful provision, you will be alert to every form in which my provision arrives, including the forms that do not look like what you asked for, but that are exactly what you need. Gratitude keeps you in the right narrative. It keeps your eyes oriented toward presence rather than absence. And in that orientation, you are positioned to receive the full breadth of what I am providing, not just the dramatic, visible answers, but every form in which I am meeting you. The practical steps in front of you matter, so let us turn to them. There are things I have been pointing you toward, things you know about, directions I have been indicating, moves I have been calling you to make. Those things need to be addressed directly, even though I cannot know from here exactly what they are for you specifically. What I can say is this: the provision I have arranged for you is connected to movement. I designed provision not to fall from the sky onto a stationary target, but to meet you in the direction you are moving. When you move toward what I am calling you toward, provision becomes accessible in ways it is not when you are standing still. Not because stillness is sinful, but because the things I am sending you have trajectories, and those trajectories intersect with your movement rather than with your waiting in place. Whatever I have been calling you toward, whatever the next step is that you know about, take it. Trust the movement. Let me meet you in the motion. And when you take that step, I want you to take it without looking back. One of the things that costs people in the moment of faith action is the looking back, the second guessing, the wondering whether they heard correctly, the temptation to retreat when the first step does not immediately produce visible results. Take the step I am indicating and commit to it, moving forward rather than sideways or backward, to trust that when I call you somewhere, I have a reason and I have provision waiting on the other side of the obedience. The one who moves forward in trust gets to discover what is on the other side of the obedience. The one who moves toward the thing I am calling them toward gets to experience what I have arranged for them there. Move forward. I am with you in the motion and ahead of you, preparing what you will find when you arrive. Going one layer deeper before we close, there is something about provision that has not yet been fully addressed. Something that sits underneath even the practical need and the fear and the waiting, and it is this: the invitation to know me. Every season of need is ultimately an invitation to know me better, not to earn provision, not to pass a test, but to encounter me in the specific way that the empty place makes possible, in the way that fullness cannot replicate, in the way that only opens to those who are genuinely without and genuinely looking to me to be what I say I am. This is the deepest dimension of what I am doing in your life right now. I am not just working to fill a gap. I am working to make myself known to you in the way that I am most fully known, which is in the place of genuine dependence and genuine trust and genuine discovery of my faithfulness. Every widow who reached into the empty jar and found oil, every hungry person who received bread from an impossible source, every person who came to the end of their own resources and found that I was there, all of them knew me in that moment in a way they had never known me before. That knowing is what I want to give you. That knowing is one of the great prizes of a hard season, not the hardship itself, but what the hardship opens up, what becomes visible about me in the place where everything else has been stripped back. I am the one who is here when everything else has been reduced. I am the one who fills what is empty. I am the one who remains when the resources are gone, and I want you to know me that way, not just know about me, know me. There is a profound difference. You can know about a person through what others have said about them. You can have an accurate intellectual picture of their character without ever having been in the room with them, without ever having experienced the weight of their presence, without ever having been on the receiving end of their love in a specific personal moment. That is not the knowing I am after with you. I am after the knowing that comes from experience, from having been in an impossible situation and watched me work, from having been at the end of your resources and discovered that I was there, from having asked me for something specific and received it in a way that could not be explained by your own effort or anyone else's. That kind of knowing changes you. It settles something in you that argument cannot unsettle and difficulty cannot erase. It becomes part of who you are, part of what you carry, part of the foundation on which everything else in your life is built, and it is available to you in this season, right now, in the middle of the need, in the middle of the waiting, as you choose to lean into me rather than away from me, as you choose to keep your eyes on me rather than on the size of the gap. I want you to think about the people in your life whose faith you have most admired. The ones who carry a steadiness that seems unshakable, whose trust in me does not waver even when hard things happen, whose peace is present even in difficulty, whose faith is a living and practicing thing rather than a theoretical position. Almost certainly, those people did not arrive at that quality of faith through easy seasons. Almost certainly, there are hard seasons in their stories, seasons of loss and need and waiting and disappointment and held on to faith that produced what you can see in them now. The faith that is admired is almost always the faith that was forged, not manufactured, not arrived at through reading the right books, though books can play a role. Forged, tested, proven in the fire of actual difficulty. That is the faith I am building in you right now. I am forging something in you in this season that will be one of the most valuable things you carry for the rest of your life, not just for yourself, but for everyone whose life touches yours. Because faith that has been tested and held is contagious. It spreads. When someone sees you walk through a hard season and hold on to me and come out the other side with your trust intact and your witness clear, it does something to them that a sermon cannot do. It says, this is real. This person's God is real. This is not just a theory or a tradition or a comfort for the weak. This is a relationship with a living God who actually comes through. Your life, your testimony, the way you navigate this season with faith and honesty is a form of witness that reaches people no other form of witness can reach. So as you walk through this, walk through it in a way that is authentic. Do not pretend it is easy. Do not perform a spiritual confidence you do not fully feel. Be honest about the struggle and be honest about the trust simultaneously, because that combination, the real difficulty held alongside real faith, is exactly the thing that makes your testimony powerful. What happens in the space between asking and receiving deserves a direct look, because that space is one of the most spiritually formative places a person can inhabit, and it is also one of the most uncomfortable. The space between the prayer and the answer is not empty space. It is not dead air where nothing is happening and nothing is being decided. It is some of the most active space in the spiritual life, a space of formation, of deepening, of the kind of growth that cannot happen in any other context. Think about it this way. The strength that a muscle develops can only be developed through resistance. Without the resistance, there is no development. The muscle that is never challenged never grows. And in the same way, the dimension of trust that is built in the space between asking and receiving cannot be built in any other way. The trust that develops when you hold on to me through an extended wait is a trust that comfortable provision could never produce. It is a tested trust, a proven trust, a trust that knows itself from the inside because it has been held under pressure and not let go. I am not saying I make you wait in order to build your trust as some kind of spiritual exercise program. What I am saying is that the waiting space has a quality that I do not waste. The time you spend between the prayer and the answer is time I am present in, time I am working in, time in which things are happening that would not happen in a quicker timeline. The depth of our relationship that develops when you stay close to me through a long wait is something that gets built in the waiting and in no other way. The knowledge of my character that you receive when you hold on to what you know about me, even when what you experience seems to contradict it, has a weight and a solidity that second-hand testimony can never give. You are not just passing through the waiting space on your way to the answer. You are living in it. And in that living, you are becoming something. Someone whose faith is real rather than theoretical, whose trust is experienced rather than assumed, whose relationship with me is built on the substance of having stayed and having held on and having found that I was faithful. So inhabit the waiting space with intention. Receive it as what it is, a time of profound formation, a season in which things are being built in you that will carry you through everything that comes after this. It is not wasted time. It is among the most important time of your life. One more practical dimension before we close. Money itself, not just as a resource but as a subject, because for many of my children, there is a complicated relationship with the topic that makes it harder to receive what I want to give. Some of you have inherited messages about money that are not accurate and not helpful. Messages that say money is inherently corrupting, that wealth is a spiritual danger, that desiring provision is materialistic, that the truly spiritual person should be content with less. And while it is true that the love of money is a root of evil things, and while it is true that contentment is a virtue, and that the accumulation of wealth at the expense of relationships and values is a form of destruction, it is not true that money itself is evil, or that wanting your needs met is unspiritual. I created a world with material reality in it. I created bodies that need food and shelter. I created communities that require resources to function. The practical needs of your life are not beneath my concern. I care about whether you can pay your bills. I care about whether your family has what they need. I care about the practical dimension of your life as much as the spiritual dimension, because I made both and both matter to me, and I want to release you from any idea that wanting provision is a failure of faith or an expression of materialism. It is neither. It is the natural and legitimate expression of being a creature with real needs in a material world. Praying for provision is not a low-level prayer. It is one of the things I invited you to do explicitly. When my son taught people to pray, he included daily bread in the prayer. Daily bread, the practical, physical, material need of eating every day, right alongside the spiritual petitions, not as a lesser thing, as a legitimate and important thing. Your need for provision is not beneath me. Bring it to me with confidence, as something I invited you to bring, as something I am genuinely interested in addressing, not as a guilty admission that you have failed to rise above material concerns, as the honest prayer of someone who is made of both spirit and matter, and who needs both spirit and matter tended to. Let me speak for a moment about the way that fear about provision can affect your relationship with me, because I have seen this pattern and I want to address it directly. When the need is pressing and the provision is delayed, there is a temptation to turn your relationship with me into a transaction, to relate to me primarily as the source of the thing you need, rather than as the one who loves you and made you and desires relationship with you. I understand why that happens. When you are in urgent need, the urgency shapes everything. It shapes your prayers, your attention, your experience of coming to me. It is harder to simply be with me in peace when the background noise of the need is so loud, but I want to gently call you back to the fullness of what we have together, not just the provision dimension, but the relationship dimension, the simple being together that I value, and that is good for you regardless of what the circumstances are doing. When you come to me only about the need, you miss something. You miss the ways I want to speak to you that have nothing to do with the current crisis. The things I want to show you about yourself and about me and about the life you are living that are not directly related to the practical problem you are trying to solve. I am not just a resource to access when things get tight. I am your father, your shepherd, the one who made you and who takes delight in you and who has things to say to you that go far beyond the answer to the current question. Come to me about the need. Absolutely. I invite that and welcome that. But also come to me without an agenda sometimes. Come simply to be with me. Come to listen as well as to ask. Come to receive what I want to give you in the quiet space that is not organized around solving the immediate problem. In that space, you will often find things that are more valuable than the answer to the practical question. You will find me, and finding me is the greatest provision. I also want to release you from the idea that wealth and spirituality are in opposition. They are not, provided that the wealth is received in the right spirit, used in the right way, and held with the open hands of someone who knows they are a steward rather than an owner. Many of the most faithful people in my word were people of significant material provision. Abraham was wealthy. David was a king. Solomon had resources beyond imagining. The women who supported my son's ministry out of their means were women of some material substance. Provision and faithfulness are not enemies. The question is not whether you have resources, but what you do with them, whether they produce gratitude or arrogance, generosity or hoarding, freedom to serve or enslavement to accumulate. I want to give you abundant provision. I want your household to have more than enough. And I want that abundance to produce in you the freedom to give, to serve, to bless, to contribute to the things I am doing in the world. That is the vision I hold for your material life. So receive it with both hands when it comes. Do not be suspicious of it. Do not immediately wonder whether you deserve it or whether there's a catch or whether it will last. Receive it as what it is, the faithfulness of your God meeting the need of someone he loves. Receive it with gratitude and hold it with open hands. Use it for the purposes it was designed to serve, your sustenance and your family's well-being, and the ability to be generous and the freedom to pursue the things I have called you to. And then keep trusting me for what comes next. And as you receive and as you give and as you live in the ongoing rhythm of need and provision and trust and rest, I want you to carry one central thing with you above all the other things I have said today. Not the principles or the practices or the stories or even the promises, though all of those matter. The one central thing I want you to carry is this: you are not alone in this. Whatever the specific shape of your need, whatever the particular form of your lack, whatever the exact details of the situation that has been burdening you, you are not carrying it alone. I am with you. I am not watching from a distance, waiting to see how you manage. I am present, actively engaged, personally invested in the outcome of what you are walking through. The same God who made the universe, who counts the stars and names them, who knows every sparrow that falls, is paying full and undivided attention to you and your situation right now. You are not a small concern lost in a large universe. You are seen, you are known, you are carried, and the provision you need is not beyond the reach of the one who is carrying you. Rest in that. Let it be what it is, the most stabilizing truth available to you in this moment. Your God knows your need. Your God has the means to meet it. Your God has committed himself to meeting it, and your God does not break his commitments. That is enough to stand on. That is more than enough to move forward with. Let it be the word you hold. You shall not lack. That is my word. That is my covenant. That is the promise that stands over your life regardless of what the current circumstances look like. I am your shepherd, and because I am your shepherd, you shall not want for anything you truly need. Not today, not in the season ahead, not in the years to come, because I am not a God who starts something and abandons it, who makes a commitment and then steps back from it, who promises provision and then leaves the ones he promised to figure it out themselves. I am the God who finishes what he starts, who keeps what he promises, who brings to completion the good work he has begun. I began a good work in you. I will complete it, and the provision you need for the journey is already in my hands, already moving toward you, already being directed to the place where you are at the time when you need it. Hold on, stay faithful, keep trusting, keep showing up, keep acting on what I have given you to do, and keep your eyes on me rather than on the gap. The gap is real, but the gap does not have the final word. I do. And my word over your life is provision, abundance, freedom, and the deep settled knowledge that you are held by a God who will not let you go and will not let you lack. Your identity in relation to provision is one more area worth addressing, because this is one of the places where wrong thinking does the most damage. There is a lie that financial struggle tells about identity, and it is a persistent and insidious lie. The lie says that you are what you can produce, that your worth is determined by your economic output, that the fact that you are in need means something about who you are as a person, about your intelligence or your work ethic or your spiritual maturity or your favor with me. It is a lie that the world system tells constantly, in 1,000 ways, through the comparisons it constantly invites, through the way success is visible and failure is shameful, through the cultural narrative that says a person's value is in their productivity and their net worth. And if you have been absorbing that lie, if it has been doing its quiet work in the background of your self-understanding, you need to hear me very directly on this. Your worth is not in your productivity. Your value is not in your economic output. I do not love you more when you are producing, and less when you are struggling. I do not think more of you when your account is full, and less of you when it is empty. The fluctuations of your financial situation have no effect whatsoever on the constancy of my love and my valuing of you. You are not your circumstances. You are not your season. You are not the sum of your financial decisions or the outcome of your current situation. You are my child. You are made in my image. You are someone in whom I have invested everything, someone for whom I have plans and hopes and a future that is not determined by today's numbers. The season you are in is a season. It is not your permanent address. It is not your identity. It is not the verdict on your worth. It is a chapter in a story that is still being written, a chapter that will look different in hindsight than it does from inside it, a chapter that is producing things in you that will serve you well in every chapter that follows. You are not your struggle. You are not your lack. You are mine. And that identity is the one that is permanent, the one that does not change with your circumstances, the one that you will carry through every season and into the fullness of what I have prepared for you. The people around you also deserve attention here, because provision is almost never a private matter. The people in your life are affected by the season you are in, and I want you to be intentional about how you carry the weight in a way that honors them and does not damage what is between you. The people who love you feel your tension even when you do not speak it. They sense the worry even when you are trying to shield them from it. And the weight of watching someone you love carry a burden they cannot help with is its own kind of suffering. Both wisdom and courage are needed in the relational dimension of this season. Wisdom to know when and how to let people in, not to burden everyone with every detail of every fear, but to be honest enough with the people closest to you that they can actually support you rather than being locked out of the real conversation. There is a way of protecting the people you love that actually isolates them, that leaves them on the outside of what is really happening, that prevents the real connection that real vulnerability makes possible. Let the people who love you in the real situation, not the curated version. Allow them to walk alongside you in the actual season you are in, and courage to hold the relational quality of your life carefully, even in the hard season. The pressure of financial strain has a way of shortening patience, of creating tension that bleeds into relationships, of making you less present with the people who matter most because your mind is elsewhere. Resist that with intention. The people around you need you to be present with them, not absent in worry. The relationships in your life are part of your provision, not obstacles to be endured while you focus on the practical problem. The love and connection and support that your community can offer you in this season is one of the ways I am providing for you. Receive it. Protect it. Do not let the financial pressure be an excuse for pulling away from the people who would walk this with you if you would let them. Your children deserve a word here, or the young people in your life who are watching how you navigate this, because they are watching. Children do not miss much, and what they see in you in hard seasons forms them in ways you cannot fully anticipate. When they watch you carry a difficult season with faith and with honesty, when they see you struggle and trust simultaneously, when they observe you bringing your need to me and watching me work, they are receiving something that is worth more than the material provision itself. They are receiving a template for how to navigate the hard things of life, a demonstration that difficulty does not mean the end, a picture of what it looks like to hold on to me when circumstances are against you. The way you navigate this season in front of the people who are watching you is a form of provision for their future. So walk through it with as much faith and as much honesty as you can hold together, because the testimony you are writing in their presence is one of the most important things you can give them. And let me speak to those of you who are navigating this season alone, without a partner, without family nearby, without a community that is closely enough connected to bear the weight with you. I know that aloneness in a hard season is a particular kind of difficulty. The need is real and the weight is heavy, and there is no one in your immediate life to share either the worry or the trust with. I want you to hear me say this: you are not as alone as you feel. I am with you in a way that is more present and more personal than any human company could be. The depth of my awareness of your situation, the closeness of my attention to you, the fullness of my care for you, these are not diminished by the absence of human witnesses. I am your constant companion in this, and I am also sending people. If you are in genuine isolation, if you are genuinely without the human community you need, that is something I want to address. Stay open to the connections I am sending. Be willing to receive the people I bring into your path. Do not let the habit of isolation keep you from the community that is available to you. I have put you in a world with other people for a reason, and the provision I have for you often arrives through human hands. Let me give you a final picture, one to carry with you as a source of strength. The picture is this: a seed in the ground. A seed that was planted with hope and care, placed in the soil at the right depth, watered and tended, believed in. And then, the waiting. The silence of the soil. The absence of visible result. The weeks that pass without any sign that anything is happening, when to every external observer, the patch of earth looks exactly the same as the day the seed was planted, empty, undisturbed, unproductive, and the doubts that arise in the waiting. Maybe the seed was not good. Maybe the soil was wrong. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe nothing is going to grow here after all. But under the surface, invisible to everyone watching from above, something is happening. The seed is breaking open. Roots are forming, reaching down into the darkness for water and nutrients, anchoring themselves in ways that will determine the strength of everything that comes above the surface. The shoot is forming, gathering itself, preparing for the moment it will push through the ground into the light. All of that work is happening in the invisible, in the underground, in the place that cannot be seen by eyes that are watching the surface for results. And then one day, suddenly to those watching from above, the green tip appears, and then the stem, and then the plant, and it seems fast, seems sudden, seems like it happened overnight, when in fact everything that makes the visible growth possible was being built in the invisible all along. That is what I am doing in your situation right now. The visible has not changed. The surface looks the same as it did, but underneath, in the invisible where I do my deepest work, something is forming. Roots are going down. The shoot is gathering itself. The provision is coming toward you in ways that are not yet visible. And the day is coming when what has been forming under the surface will break through, and what looked like nothing was happening will suddenly be revealed as a season of extraordinary underground activity. I am working. It is not visible yet, but it is real, and it is coming. Amen. If this word reached you today, do not just move past it. Carry it with you. Write it somewhere you will see it. My God is my provider. He will not fail me. Return to it when the fear comes back. And if this spoke to your heart, share it with someone who is also waiting and also afraid, because they need this truth as much as you did. Subscribe and stay connected to this community where we receive these words together and remind each other of what is real. You belong here.